Today we're going to make a small patriotic cross wreath.
For this cross wreath, we're going to need some plastic canvas, some dowel rods. I got these 12-inch dowel rods off of Amazon. I did get some from Walmart. This was what it looked like. They were a little bit thinner, but they were also 12 inches. So if you're in a pinch and you need to get them right away, you can go to Walmart. With the plastic canvas, make sure this is the 5 mesh and not the 7 mesh. The 5 mesh has bigger holes, and it is 5 holes per inch, whereas the 7 mesh has 7 holes per inch. And so that means the holes are smaller and it's a lot more difficult to get the zip ties through. So this Dollar Tree form is 24 inches long and 12 wide. Okay, what I want to do, instead of using a cross form this big, I want to cut it down about half the size. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to make my own form, not with any wire. I'm just going to simply cut it out on this plastic canvas and then use the dowel rods to hold it, kind of keep its shape. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want this to be 8 inches, okay, from the bottom up and 3 inches from this side. So, and then we're only going to have this be 1 inch wide. That Dollar Tree form is 2 inches wide. We're only going to go 1 inch. So now we're going to go just up 1 inch and back over. And then I'm going to go, 3 inches up. So 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, 8. Okay, so here is my finished cross. And yes, I know it's flimsy. It's not going to stand up or anything like that at the gravesite. We will fix that here in just a sec. But what I want to do before I use these dowel rods or anything like that, I want to put lines on my cross of where I'm going to put the zip ties, so that when I put the petals on, we are going to be even Steven. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I know my very last petal is going to go right on these lines here. Okay, the zip ties will be like, actually, you know what, I'm going to put them right on the inside. If I have to cut off the tops of the petals, that way we know it'll all fit in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do from this point, I'm going to go down 1 inch. So what I'm going to do with the dowel rod, okay, I'm going to flip this over because I want to make sure I can see where I want the zip ties to be, because this is going to be the back side. Now what I want to do, I want 6 inches of the dowel rod to stick down underneath, like below where this ends. Okay, and the reason is because this is going to go in the ground. Okay, I'm going to do it right here. I don't want to make sure it's not on the same line that where my zip ties are going to go for my petals. Okay, so make sure wherever we put it, it's not going to be, we don't already have a line. that down in there. And again, let's go down 6 inches. There you go. And I'm going to kind of make that tight there. And tighten that up here. Okay. Make it good and tight. I'm going to cut these off here. I'm going to take a couple more dowel rods because I just want to make sure that this is going to be good and sturdy. Because if we just put one on top here, guess what it's going to do? It's going to flop right there. So we got to make sure that we have, at least a couple inches that we have two dowel rods right there. Okay. I know it seems almost a waste, but it's going to work. I promise. Again, making sure it's not going to be on the line where we're going to be putting our zip ties for the petals. Okay, so see, there's no flop there now. Okay, so that's good. And I know, yes, this is going to be right in the middle. This isn't. It's going to be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this off. In fact, I think I'm going to cut this kind of right here. Okay, that's a little bit long. I'm going to trim that up. And just kind of put this right here. So we're going to have one on either side here. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a little bit of a tough time whenever I go to put my zip tie in here because of this one. But I think we're going to be okay. We'll see how this turns out. Okay, so there is our form that we're going to be using. So I'm going to be cutting this poly burlap with a wood burning tool. So you definitely need a glass cutting board and a cutting mat. At least that's what I like to use. That way I have my measurements right there. Okay, and you can see through the glass, and it's perfect. And I turned off my overhead light because it's a little distracting. But although I do have a side light that's also very distracting. But okay, so I have one mark here and a mark here. Those are 5 inches. Okay, so I have my poly burlap right here, and I'm just going to cut this actually just a little bit over 5 inches. And I'm going to stay within the lines of the poly burlap. Again, this helps with the fraying. Okay, now I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to cut it right there at that 5-inch mark again. Okay, so we have two basically 5 by 5 pieces. So you can see I have the finished side right here on like upper left. Okay, and I'm bringing this up, and I want this edge here to be just below where that finished edge ends, because whenever we make our petal, we don't want this popping out from behind. Okay, And right where this edge is, you can see where that is. I'm gonna go right along there, kind of go in like just a tad, and we're gonna fuse that to the mesh that was underneath it, okay? And see how that fuses together. Now, it's not gonna be perfect every time, okay? In fact, let me show you this one that I did earlier. This did not fuse right here at the tip. So what I'm going to do, you can do several different things, okay? I can cut it one more time, just like the next line in, and that's what I'm going to do and see if that works. Because we want to make sure that this tip is sharp looking, okay? And yes, that worked. If for whatever reason it doesn't want to fuse, you can just take this and kind of hit the sides right along there, and it usually kind of helps to fuse that together, okay? So we're going to go from here. What I'm going to do, I have this finished edge on top, okay? Now I'm going to go straight up to the top, and I'm going to scrunch right there in the middle, okay? Actually, it's usually better if I put my finger underneath there and kind of push up and scrunch. I'm going to pull in and pull in from each side. Then I'm going to get out a zip tie that I forgot to get out. Okay. I'm going to take one of my zip ties and just zip tie that shut. Okay. And then I like to fluff that out. Okay. And each one is going to be about 3 inches. So it's going to be a beautiful size. Okay. So I'm going to show you one more time. I have this finished edge kind of to my right, I guess. I don't know. It depends on how you want to do it. I like to do it up and down, but anyhow, I have the finished edge up on top, the fused side to the bottom, and I'm taking my middle finger, kind of putting that right in between my forefinger and my thumb and pinching. And there you go. Right there in the middle. Scrunch and scrunch. Take a zip tie and tie it shut. If you want to use a rubber band, you are more than welcome. Do what you feel comfortable with. Okay, and once that's done, see how long that is? I want to kind of pull it out, and it makes a beautiful petal. Okay? Okay, so we have our cross here. Remember where we put our lines here. I'm not going to use that bottom line. I'm going to use this one right here. Okay. And I'm going to go around that zip tie, or that dowel rod. Okay. So I'm putting that zip tie in one side where we want to use that center one. So it's going in on one side of the center, coming out on the other side. Okay. And yes, that dowel rod is right in the middle. So I'm going to go right around the dowel rod. It's not going to hurt. In fact, if anything, it's going to keep that dowel rod on. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my zip ties in first. Now this one here is going to be a little awkward because we have that other dowel rod right next to it. So it's going to have to go right there in between the two dowel rods. But see that that went in just fine. I made, let's see, I made 6 of the red, 6 of the navy, and 5 white. I made a 6th one. I'm not going to be using it. So, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to put red at the bottom. And alternate red and white going up. Okay, so now I'm going to go red, white, red here. And if you're having a tough time with it, just turn it around so you can see where you are. So I'm going to do 3 of the navy blue over here. And yeah, this is going to be tight right up in here, but I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, and these are going to be very tight. I'm actually going to cut a little bit of this off. Okay, see how I'm just making that a little bit smaller right up there. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I just have 3 blue that I'm going to do up here at the top. And again, I'm just going to trim off that top part right there, just so there's less bulk. Okay, so I could have kept it simple and just put a star on here, but I kind of decided I want to use flowers. So I'm using this. I'm going to put this right underneath it because I'm going to be using hot glue. I don't want to get any glue onto my cutting mat. Okay, so what I found, I have these beautiful little white flowers and these red roses. I know I definitely got those from Hobby Lobby, both of those. Okay, so this, I don't know where I got it from. I had it in my stash. I believe these may have been from Joann Fabrics at one point. I'm not sure. It's definitely, I've had these for several years. So, but I'm going to go ahead and use a couple pieces of this, just a couple of these roses and this. And then I have this greenery from Joann Fabrics that I just got. It's a little boxwood kind of greenery, because if you have flowers, you got to have greens. So anyhow, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a couple of these flowers, I'm going to cut the stem down, because it doesn't need to stick out very far. So I'm just going to kind of cut these that small, okay? And this, I pulled that off of the stem, and I'm going to cut each one individually. I'm going to do the greenery first. I want to make sure that I'm hiding that plastic canvas. And we want all those zip ties to be hidden. And I'm gluing this directly to both the plastic canvas and or the mesh. So do you think this is going to work great graveside? I do. It's big enough that it makes a statement, but it's not so big. Those Dollar Tree frames, they work great. Don't get me wrong. They really do work really nice. But I think graveside, they're a little too big. This turns out to be 15 inches long. Yeah, I think it works out great. Now, and this dowel rod, as long as we put it in the ground a good 4 inches, it's probably not going to go anywhere. So I think we're going to be fine. I think we did really good. This is cheap. It doesn't take that long. You can make several of these if you're doing a craft show or something like that. You guys have a great rest of the day. My name is Patty Davis. I'm with Crooked Tree Creations, and I'll see you in our next video.